Hello and welcome to the Philippines. We are in the typhoon season, but this has been a pretty mild typhoon season so far. But that's about to change. Super Typhoon Karding is about to hit central Luzon Island, and it will affect a huge part, the northern Luzon and down even into Manila. And I believe it's even affecting us down here in Cebu City, Cebu, in that it is drawing in more clouds, more wind. Today is quite windy. I've got my doors and windows open, and I had to shut them a little ways because so much wind coming in here. Going to go over the track that is expected very shortly, and a couple of maps and information about typhoons here in the Philippines and around the world. Jumping over to the Pegasus site, Super Typhoon is now Super Typhoon Karding is the name the Philippines gives this. Reached Super Typhoon category after a period of explosive intensification, and we'll talk a little more about that in the rest of this video. And they give some information on what to expect through this area. This is the map that they have projected out. Super Typhoon status coming in here, and they have the dates where they think it's going to, and the path that it will take, and about one day, and it's going to exit, come out here. It will lose some of its strength as it goes over the mountains here in central Luzon. It's very common for these storms to do all sorts of strange things, be going in one direction, come up here, turn south, turn back north, so you just never know for sure, but they're pretty certain this is what's going to happen with this one. So we have a major storm, typhoon, what you call hurricane in the North America anyway. And if you can see the red line here, this red line is the boundary of the Philippine area of responsibility. And once a storm comes in from here or from here, the east or the west, they usually come in across the Pacific from the east. And when they cross this line, I think the Philippines is the only nation in the country, they change the name. There's an international name out here that everybody uses, but causes some confusion to a lot of people. Once it crosses this line, the Philippines changes the name. For instance, back in December, Super Typhoon Rai, international name, was called Odette once it crossed that line into the Philippine area of responsibility. Anyway, this could turn into a Category 5, a super typhoon. And let's zoom in here a little bit. Just watch what Pegasus, I'm on the site Pegasus, which is a government site. I'll put a link in the description here. And here's the Philippine Islands right here. Cebu Island, Cebu City, Cebu Island down here. We have mostly cloudy skies today, and we just had a Sunday morning here. We just had I don't know, about 30 minutes of really strong winds. I've got my balcony door and my windows open. It's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see, that's about 28 degrees Celsius, and real nice cool. I even would call it cold. It's almost the wind chill factor coming through my condominium. Anyway, the storm is going to, as they usually do, they usually come in and they go north. But this one looks like it's pretty much on a dedicated path right across central Luzon. So it's going to affect the Manila area, going to affect the Manila area and all the way up here. And the circulation here, it's going to bring in additional clouds, which is happening, and winds today across a much larger area, even though we're not included in any of the risk levels. One thing has happened which makes these things unpredictable. When a storm out here, a low pressure system, tropical storm, comes in, and from the colder waters out in the Pacific, and it reaches the warm waters of the Philippine Sea, it can very quickly increase in strength the winds and the amount of moisture in the system. What looked like a relatively moderate storm out here can, within a day or two, pick up strength and become a super typhoon. So we have some weather going on around the world, including right here in the Philippines. So let's jump over to a site called windy.com. They have apps for cell phones, and of course you can go online as well, as I have done here. Windy.com offers just a ton of free information, but they also have a premium program. You can pay very little to get better forecasts, a little more information. They have an enormous amount of information that you can plug in over here. And I got wind coming through. I got my doors open in my condominium, my windows and my door. It's a cool 28 degrees here, almost cold. 28 degrees being about 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're having some of the effect of this typhoon up here, as it's the outer bands, I guess. It's having some effect on bringing in these. You can see these southwest winds here. It's forcing some of these to kind of come and move in this direction. So we have mostly cloudy sky today, and various levels of wind as well. I've had to shut my windows a little bit because it was starting to blow things off my shelves like it just did. Anyway, let's key in here to the Philippines, and this is you've got Cebu City down here, Bohol, and these typhoons, as we call them here in the Western Pacific. They generally come in from this direction, from the Pacific, and the Pacific cold water, but once you hit the Philippine Sea here, generally very warm water. If any of you have visited here and swam in the waters, you understand it's very comfortably warm, sometimes almost bathwater warm. And something that looks like a moderate storm out here, once it hits these warm waters, can pick up more moisture and strength very rapidly. It's what happened middle of December last year. Super typhoon Rai is the international name. Odette, once it comes into the Philippines area of responsibility, kind of like a square that goes around the Philippines. And it came through the Visayas, right through this area. Did a lot of damage across Leyte, Samar, Mindanao down here, northwest Mindanao, Surigao Island up here, and across these islands, Negros, Panay, even Palawan had some damage, I believe. Anyway, you can track this. You can use a forecasting model here to move this by the date to see where it's going to hit. And a lot of these typhoons, now here's Sunday 12 a.m. then we're moving into Monday, so it's about one day it's going to cross Luzon. Very fast moving typhoon. Then it's going to lose a little bit of strength as it hits these mountains and landfall. But then when it gets back out here in the warm water, it's going to pick up additional force strength as well. Zoom out just a bit, and it has been a relatively mild August and September as far as storms. July, August, September had very little in the way of storms. We had one come through and hit the Batanes Islands up here, and Taiwan just in about like a week ago, I believe. And most of these typhoons, I've done a number of videos about weather and climate, and most of them come in here and they go north, but not always. The Philippines, on a rare occasion, Mindanao will get caught down here. On a rare occasion, one will come in from this side. A low pressure area will develop into a typhoon and come in from this side as well. When considering where to settle down if you're going to move here long term, this is one of the considerations. I might not want to live on the side of a volcano. I might not want to live right on an earthquake fault zone. I might not want to live on this side where the typhoons generally hit, and those are some of the factors you want to consider, as well as flooding areas. Live in an area. I saw on one of the weather channels, and I'll introduce you to Westpac Weather here shortly. One of the comments there is, "Oh, I'm really afraid because he lives up in this area, and he lives in an area that gets flooded often." So a flooding area, landslide area, some of the risks, and it happens all over the world. But anyway, let me zoom out here because there's some weather happening around the world. There's earthquakes happening around the world. Major earthquakes have happened recently, several sevens in the 7 range. And I'll introduce you to a guy who does a really good job at forecasting earthquakes. Dutch Sense, he's got a YouTube channel, does a lot of updates on those types of things. And anyway, you've got let's go over here to the US and Canada. You've got a major system up here that's, I read an article this morning that said, I think some 200,000 people up in this area of Canada have lost power because of this. Is it still a hurricane, I believe, affecting this part? And it came in here, and it had some effect on the east coast of the U.S. And like many of these hurricanes do, they come up here and they go north out of here. Like this one down here that's forming down here. And I'll show you the progression, the forecast progression of it too. This powerful storm down here, as it comes in and these warm waters, it picks up more strength. So let's take this forward, and of course things can change. There's a lot of factors that affect the direction these things go, how big they get. But it's going to go up here. Looks like it's going to hit the west coast of Florida pretty good. It's going to have a major effect on all of Florida and go right across Florida according to this forecast model, and then up along and affect a big part of the east coast of the USA. And I was in North Carolina, South Carolina border area when Hurricane Hugo hit, and man, the damage that it was done. I had driven into this area. My daughter lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'd driven down into this area, and everybody else was going out. It was bumper to bumper. Cars were leaving, and I was going towards it. I couldn't find any place to stay. All the hotels were closing up and boarding up. Businesses were boarding up, and so I ended up sleeping in my car that night. And gosh, about 1 o'clock in the morning, it felt like a giant had picked up my car and was just shaking it very violently. I thought it was going to get blown over, but fortunately I was pointed into the wind enough so that it didn't tip my car over. But in the morning when I got up, no electricity. 7-Eleven close to me, everybody was buying out all the food and the ice especially, and big huge I-beams for signs and stuff twisted like pretzels. Unbelievable, the force that these hurricanes, typhoons have. This is the hurricane and typhoon season, and it has been a little bit, even in the Atlantic, it has been a little bit quiet so far this year, as it has been in the Pacific. Has the sun, solar energy has a big effect. What's going on with the sun has a big effect on how many storms we see. So as the sunspot cycle increases in intensity over the next few years, it's an 11-year cycle, a weak cycle, a stronger cycle for sunspots. We'll see how that affects storms. As well, the other factor is, of course, the Earth's weakening magnetic shield. And for more information on that, I would refer you over to a site called Suspicious Observers. They've got a website. They do earthquake. I think they've got quake.net, I believe. Suspicious observers. They have a lot of science about the sun and the earth and climate as well. I just watched the latest update from Westpac Weather, and I'll put links to all these various sites in the description of this video. But he's saying it's going to be a nasty one, and it is increasing in strength. And if you are in a, well, if you're advised to evacuate your area, you best do that immediately. And take what you need with you, because it could be a couple days before things get back to normal. Anyway, good luck to all of you up there, different places around the world, experiencing storms, floods, all those sorts of things. But that's all I have for you right now. More information will be coming out in the coming day. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.